Good morning, I'm Sharad Kuttan and welcome to BFM's Morning Headlines. It's the 28th of January. It's a Tuesday. Now, by this time in the morning, you would have read so much about the debacle in the state government of Selangor that you're wondering what could be new in the newspaper that arrived at 6:30 this morning. Well, rifling through many of the papers, I just got one little factoid, or it's speculation really, in the Malay Mail, which I thought was quite interesting. This is, of course, the story of whether Anwar Ibrahim is going to take over as MB of Selangor, whether Khalid Ibrahim is going to resign as MB, whether Azmin Ali is going to get his long desired dream of the plum position of one of the richest states of the Federation. All these things up for much speculation and a noise, as they call it. Now, this little thing, maybe it's a headline that might surprise you. Anwar Azmin not qualified to be MB. That really should have a question mark next to it, because it's about something that is customary, that the MB of Selangor has always been Selangor born. Anwar Ibrahim, we are told in this report, was born in Penang. Azmin Ali was born in Singapore. Does he qualify to be a Malaysian? Apparently he does. But does he qualify to be a Menteri Besar of Selangor? We don't know. That's something that's moot at this point, is the question of whether his name is put up and he gets the support of both PAS and the DAP. So all the papers carry the story in some form or another. There you have it, the Malay Mail. Here you have a much more kind of cynical take on the question. The PKR assemblyman is questioned, relinquishing his post in order to resolve party position issues and tussles within his own party. Did he betray his electorate? That's a question that is being put to him. That's the man in question. You see, that's him there. So here, the motive of vacating the seat seems very much part of what is already much speculated on the internet. It was in the newspapers yesterday that it's all about deposing Khalid from the position of Menteri Besar. There you have much the same. There you have it again on the top. Stay calm is another story we should talk about, and that's Najib's, the Prime Minister's call to stay calm in the face of that Molotov cocktail attack on a church in Penang. Maybe it's a little too late. I mean, he seems to not have weighed in against provocateurs of all kinds in the lead up to this particular event. Is that a little too late here? NSC, of course, is saying, is this spat within the Parti Keadilan a drain on the public? Are people getting cynical as a consequence of this? I mean, it's easy to get cynical when you are faced with what seems like an endless and protracted affair that involved the PKNS controversy and such. Utusan Malaysia has a very different story. It highlights the new scheme by the government to boost Bumiputra entrepreneurs. That also is an old story, but this is new money for an old story. So the money goes up to R500,000 ringgit if you put in a proposal that they like. So another story in the media involves these little two kids. Remember, they were made to act like cows. All kinds of accusations. They're rather cute kids, really, and they appear in many of the newspapers. Also in the papers, pictures of the teacher in question running away from cameramen. So that's the teacher, you see, that's the teacher. He's running away, he doesn't want to show his face. And in fact, the papers have been very kind to him. They digitize his face. They don't, of course, digitize the faces of these two young kids who are at the center of the controversy. Depending on the paper you read, they're either scared to go back to the same school or determined to stay in the same school. There are non-Chinese kids in a Chinese school, and there are many of those, and they're clearly quite happy to stay despite what their teacher did to them. They're kind of cute, and that's the mothers concerned, anxious mothers, but also determined to stay in the school, perhaps because the Chinese school provides good quality education, which is, of course, a long-standing story for us in the media too. Also in the papers this morning, a rather charming interview and story about Unku Aziz, who's turned 92. It says that he reads 4 newspapers every day, 4, not the 8 that I look at, and that he gets through them in under half an hour. So that either he's a speed reader, which is what they suggest, or there's so little in the papers worth reading that he can dispense with them so quickly. So there you have it, Unku Aziz. In the business dailies today, we have the Malaysian Reserve, not that remarkable, but here it is. Malaysian ringgit at all-time low against the Singapore dollar. And if you are a frequent traveler to Singapore, then you'll know how much this story hurts your wallets. Finally, Harian Metro with another story on domestic troubles. They, of course, as a tabloid, can raise these domestic troubles to kind of a national level. The other story here, of course, is that they have actually sent a correspondent to Sweden, it seems, to report on that family and their troubles. Apparently the courts in Sweden have allowed for a Muslim family from Malaysia that are residing there to act as foster parents for the children that were taken away from their parents, who apparently or allegedly beat them and beat one of the boys because he didn't do his prayers. And the word for the day appears on the front pages of Sinar Harian. Motif. Because the English motif is not what we're looking at. We're talking about motive. That's M-O-T-I-V-E. Motif or motive. Motive or motif, depending on the language you're speaking. Question is, what's the end game with all this? I mean, with the PKR debacle, what do the voters of Selangor who put the Pakatan Rakyat in power get out of all this? Are we going to get a better administration? If somebody can prove that to me, I would take my hat off and cheer this Sinetron drama Minggu ini on for all it's worth. Thanks for joining me, Shurat Kutin, on this dreary Tuesday morning. It is the 28th of January, and you've been listening to BFM's Morning Headlines, BFM 89.9.